Well, yeah, because I didn't think the stakes were high enough. And I mean, if you're coming at me with, I don't think that my 8-man husband is going to enjoy celebrating our first anniversary as your stakes, then I mean, sign me out.
All right, and we are here again, and we are back again. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And this is the Sequel Podcast, where we break down sequels from the past. We are currently doing Disney sequels, so there's a bunch of movies from our past that we love and that we know, and we're picking the most interesting sequels after the fact. So today we are doing Tarzan and Jane, which is the sequel to Tarzan. Not to be mistaken with Tarzan 2, which is a prequel, but Tarzan and Jane, which is the actual sequel.
A true sequel, indeed, yes.
A true sequel. And what's interesting before we start this breakdown is that they actually did a television show of this.
That's the thing. Yes, it is. We went in believing that it was a true sequel, but that is actually not the case.
So what's the name of the TV show?
The name of the TV show, I believe, was, you'll have to correct me on this, I think it was Legend of Tarzan.
Okay, so and this went how many seasons?
It was actually 2 seasons, and it was 39 episodes.
Yikes. So 39 episodes, and during that time, they kind of get greenlit for a sequel, which they're going to call Tarzan and Jane. And we will kind of dive more back into that, but it's important to remember that for now. So let's jump into this plot, if you want to call it that, for Tarzan and Jane, the sequel to Tarzan. So it opens up with, I believe, the remaining rights that they had to a Phil Collins song from the first one. With that playing, and Tarzan and Jane are swinging through the vines. They're kind of playing a game of
Tree tag, I think they call it.
Tree tag or upper body tag, and they're just kind of swinging through. Basically, we discover that this is a year after the first Tarzan. So not only has it been a year after, but Tarzan and Jane have been married a year. So she is talking to the animals, and she's talking about how it's their 1-year anniversary with Tarzan, and she's trying to figure out how to do some kind of anniversary party. So Jane goes, maybe I'll do this for his anniversary. And then the gorilla goes, oh, I wouldn't do that because remember that one time. And then we cut to a flashback. And in this flashback, it's been maybe a couple months after she originally decided to stay at the end of the first Tarzan. Her friends come to the jungle. They're trying to convince her to come back to London. They're not exactly excited that she's living this jungle life with Tarzan.
But they have very different feelings on Tarzan.
Yeah, one of them is really horny for Tarzan.
Yes.
And she keeps like saying like, oh, does he always have muscles? And it's like, yeah, he like swings all the time. So of course he's going to have that. So you think that this is going to be like a quick flashback of a conversation, but it just keeps going on and on and on.
Well, a plot develops out of it.
Well, yeah. So basically, Jane tries to convince the girls that everything's okay, so she takes them on a picnic to the jungle. When they go on a picnic to the jungle, things go bad. Some panthers attack. They get pushed back by the panthers and into the river. The panthers follow in the river. During this time, Tarzan is trying to figure out where Jane's at.
He's going through like some personal stuff too.
Oh yeah, because Jane and the girls want Tarzan to wear a suit, and he doesn't want to wear a suit.
Exactly, and it's a conflict.
Well, he doesn't want to wear the suit, and that it feels irrelevant, but it's actually kind of going to come back later. So he's debating whether or not to wear the suit, and then he decides that like Jane's been gone for too long or something. So he kind of goes where the picnic grounds are, and he realizes that something happens. So we have Jane and the girls trying to get back to kind of homestand while Tarzan is searching for the girls. While they're in the woods, the panthers attack again with the girls. Tarzan shows up. He does a big fight with the panthers. After he defeats them, all the women become impressed. Suddenly, he's like won over Jane's friends. So at the end of that adventure, the women return back to London with new approval of Jane's life. And it's like, that's the end of that flashback. And then we cut back to the conversation with Jane and the elephant and the monkey. And we're 23 minutes into this movie.
A long time has passed.
So Jane is in the present again, talking to the monkey and the elephant. And she goes, oh, yeah, you're right. That was a good story, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, I'm thinking I should get Tarzan a gift for our anniversary. Maybe I'll get him something expensive, like a diamond. And she says this as almost immediately to set up the monkey being like, oh, well, you shouldn't have given him a diamond because remember the last time you guys dealt with diamonds, And then we immediately cut to another flashback. And here's our second story of this movie.
And
which
our fears are immediately confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
We're exactly where we feared that we would be, because since we started with Aladdin, we had kind of like been aware that we were skirting around these TV shows, these sequel TV shows that we wouldn't be watching, we didn't have to watch because this was a sequel podcast where we're dealing with more direct sequels, more meaty plots.
That's not the case.
Than what a TV show would tackle, and that is not the case. We danced around it with Atlantis, where it was actually a true movie. But now we are literally just dealing with a movie that is 3 scripts of a pre-existing show shamelessly strung together to create a flashback-riddled movie. And I mean, at this point, we consider just seriously bailing out.
Yeah, I thought about turning it off.
Just hitting that eject button.
But yet, here we are at the second flashback, which is going to be our second story. And it starts with these 3 dudes, and they're talking about Tarzan, about how he can help them get to a volcano where all these diamonds are. So the 2 dudes with their guns go out to the jungle. They find Tarzan. They tell him about diamonds. And they basically trick him into saying, well, if you help us get these diamonds, you can also get a diamond. And then you can give it to your girl. And then she'll be impressed. So Tarzan wants to get a diamond so he can give it to Jane. So the 2 guys and Tarzan go out to this volcano. Along the way, some alligators attack. Tarzan fights them. After they fight the alligators, they go to the volcano where the diamonds are. They start digging for these diamonds. So after they get the diamonds, the bad guys try to kill Tarzan, but Jane shows up and rescues him.
Which is, I don't know if you want to talk about that real quick, which is they had to deal with Tarzan to give him 1 diamond from this cave that is just besmattered, if that's a word, with diamonds. And I don't know if it's greed or if it's like paranoia, but they can't trust him, so they just say that no, we can't even do that, so we're just going to kill you instead of giving you 1 diamond and letting you walk free.
So the bad guys get away with some of the diamonds. Tarzan, Jane, and the father, they get trapped in the volcano cave. The volcano starts to erupt. Lava gets everywhere. Tarzan goes to the top of the volcano cave and basically just punches his way out. He rescues the gang. They all escape. The lava continues to go on and on until it reaches the bad guys, and then they become stuck in a tree. Tarzan decides to rescue the bad guys, and then after he rescues them, he gets them arrested by some kind of jungle police that I guess just randomly exists, or I guess the town police. But he arrests them, and after, all is done, we end that flashback and we cut back to the conversation with Jane and the animals. So here we are again at our third conversation, and it's interesting because at this point, Jane says to the animals, like, what was the point of you telling that story? And the ape almost explains, she's like, well, I told that story because, it's proof that diamonds are trouble. So this scene is weird for me because it almost feels like the writer justifying why he's sending the audience on these flashback encounters.
That's exactly what it is. And it's almost like it's not even hidden, but almost acknowledged with like a semi-meta joke about how lazy it is. And like why did we tell that story? Oh, because it has a loose connection, and the fact that it's a loose connection was a joke. And I don't really want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like Jane would almost say, like, where do you get off? And maybe we'll save that for our Where Do You Get Off podcast.
Exactly.
Where do you get off? Coming next year. So after Jane and the animals talk some more, I don't really care what they're talking about. We cut to our third flashback. And in this third flashback, we see a pilot get shot down by another pilot. And the pilot that flies away after shooting down somebody has a picture of Jane.
Let's go ahead and name this pilot. This pilot's name is Bobby.
So Bobby lands in the jungle, and Tarzan goes to help him. And after they encounter, Jane shows up, and Jane recognizes the pilot. And like you said, she calls him Bobby, and apparently they're old friends. So Jane and, what's his name? Bobby. They are in Jane's place. They're talking a little bit, and then Bobby reveals that before Jane went on a boat or a plane to get to the jungle, aka before the first Tarzan, he slipped her some little box, and in that box had codes to government secrets or something.
It's all very vague.
It's all very vague. But either way, he has come back to this jungle to get the stolen property that he successfully hidden with Jane before her adventures of the first Tarzan. So Jane is very upset to find out that Bobby is like a traitor to the country of some kind because he's got these secret codes. So she says like, God save the queen, and she attacks Bobby, and she takes the box and she tries running in the jungle. Bobby catches up with her. He stops her, and then he pulls out a gun as if he's going to kill her. But then we cut away, and what we cut away to is the pilot that got shot down. And Tarzan goes to that pilot, and that pilot's name is
Nigel.
And he is played by...
He's actually played by Alexis Denisov.
Which is our boy...
Wesley.
Wesley from Buffy, and also Wesley from Angel, unfortunately. But mostly Wesley from Buffy. And he tells Tarzan that basically Bobby is a traitor, that he's here to arrest him, about the secrets. And then we cut back to Bobby and Jane. He's got her basically tied up in his plane. They're going to take off. While they're taking off, Tarzan comes in at the last minute. He throws a spear at the plane. He's holding on to the rope of the spear with the plane, like Tom Cruise at the edge of a plane. He fights Bobby on the plane. Jane jumps to the front seat to fly the plane.
The plane is flying with no one steering it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very straight.
And they're fighting on it. Basically, after the big fight, the plane crashes and they're kind of on the edge of a waterfall. And using a connective rope, Bobby is able to escape, and he basically leaves Tarzan and Jane for dead. But the weird thing is that as soon as the plane actually then starts to fall, then they're actually going to die, Bobby hears this and he feels bad, so he goes back to save them. And it's like, after he saves them, he just gets arrested by Tarzan. But it's like, you left them for dead, and then after you just heard one cry for help, you went back and saved them.
Well, it was Jane.
Yeah, but it's still like you left them for dead.
He still loves her though.
I guess, but
and they do a whole thing where it's like maybe he wasn't all bad, but it's like you treated him like he was all bad. So
it's almost like someone asked the writer, like, "Hey, this villain seems shitty," and he was just like, "Yeah." So Bobby gets arrested, and then after that happens, we end our third flashback where Jane is talking to the animals, and basically she just feels like maybe all hope is lost. Maybe she can't celebrate this anniversary after all. So she goes back to her house, but when she opens the door, what's there? Tarzan's there. He's there in his suit. He's there with a diamond ring, and he's there to celebrate the anniversary that she wanted to celebrate all along. The two of them look at each other. The animals are all around. They begin to sing some kind of song about whatever, and then, happily ever after, fireworks, and that's the end of what these people decided to call Tarzan and Jane. So before we break down this movie, I honestly do not have anything I really want to say about it. It's very evident from the beginning of this that this is not a movie, and you even looked up like what was going on with this movie. And can you just break that down a little bit?
Yeah, so I found out this movie is just 3 episodes of the TV show that I don't know if they were chosen specifically for this movie or how they were chosen, but they were just produced for this movie. Some kind of additional narrative webbing material was produced to kind of like serve as the connective tissue.
Yeah, they don't even hide it. They literally say like on a website that they were approached to do a sequel, and they said, well, why don't you just use like 3 episodes that you haven't used yet and just turn it into a movie? And this is what we got. So when you consider that, it's just like, I have nothing to say about this movie. So unless you really have anything to go into.
I mean, there are things that you can say about this movie. Is there anything that I want to say about this movie? I mean, no, it is just a collection of TV shows, and we were actively choosing not to do TV shows for this podcast, and we still ended up doing it, and it doesn't make me feel good knowing that. Yeah. But I mean, like, going the bare minimum and just looking at, okay, what is this movie about? It's about an anniversary. And I'm thinking about just how plots go, especially for sequels like this that we've dealt with in the past, because as you said, this is our 5th episode.
And it's frustrating because like the intention of this podcast is to look into the sequels that people make. And it's frustrating because I guess we're finding out that people aren't making sequels.
They're not. That's the thing I feel like we've been kind of exploring that a little bit, is that every sequel has some kind of validity to it. There's some kind of motivating factor that is unique. Especially to like original, I mean, it is unique to original
But
ideas.
even like, we did Mulan 2 recently, and Mulan 2 at least like tries to tell a story and continue on themes. Like this movie, very similar to Milo's Return, is just side adventures that don't really add anything to the characters.
Exactly.
So I guess we'll just jump into this. So as always on this podcast, we ask 3 important questions that lead to a final vote. And the first question is, does it work as a sequel? And I'll just make this nice and quick for our audience. It does not work as a sequel for me.
No. No stakes, no character development, no
reason to really do this.
no enjoyability either. I guess I kind of
All
marks
right,
off
so
all
let's
our
jump
checks
into
right
the
there.
second category, which is it enjoyable, entertaining? I will say this. There are two scenes that are enjoyable. The panther fight between Tarzan and the alligator fight between Tarzan, because those are just well executed. But outside of those two scenes, it is not enjoyable. I believe we paused this just as much as we paused Atlantis.
We paused it more.
Probably.
For me, it was not enjoyable either. The one thing that I did kind of like was, I mean, it was fun and playful how ambiguous they were with who the evil guy that Bobby was working for. They didn't really say, they just said that they were a traitor to the queen, and there seemed to be some kind of conflict going on.
Yeah, I will say Bobby's storyline was probably the most interesting, but I'm probably being biased because we had our boy Wesley in that storyline.
Yeah, that was definitely the most engaging for me.
So to kind of jump to the next one, does it need to exist? I don't think this needs to exist. In all honesty, they probably could have just taken this movie and put it in the TV show because that was their original intention. It's like, why are you even doing this movie in the first place?
For me, no, it does not need to exist. The TV show is probably fine, but is not getting reviewed in this podcast. So that is all I have to say about that.
And if you're keeping score at home, I believe this is the first time on this podcast where that is X's across the board.
A low point for sure.
That is 6 X's, one big stinker X, no asterisks. And yeah, this is not worth going back again at all.
It's unfortunate that this is one of our episodes to an extent because we like talking about and analyzing stuff. And aside from just kind of breaking down the plot, there's not much to kind of pick apart here.
The only thing I'll say to wrap it up is that instead of watching Tarzan 2, you can just watch Tarzan and then you can watch George of the Jungle starring Brendan Fraser. Because that is a movie that covers a lot of the stuff that Tarzan 2 covers, and I'm sure the movie covers, but it's enjoyable. Well, I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything else?
If you do not want to go with me down this rabbit hole.
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's not worth it.
Then
honestly.
I sure as shit am not going down there alone.
Well, as always, people, make sure that you like, you subscribe. Feel free to comment on anything that we missed, that we messed up.
Do you like the movie?
Yeah, if you like the movie, tell us.
Defend yourself.
Yeah. That has been a wrap on the sequel to Tarzan, Tarzan and Jane. As always, I'm Matt.
I'm Drew.
And we will see you here again, back again, on the Back Again sequel podcast.
Maybe we'll come back.
Yeah, maybe we'll come back. So we'll see you next time.